In black and white, throw down on the mic. Both sides of the coin, yeah, we're ready to fight. Grab your ears, let's have it out tonight.
Well, we are. The first episode of In Black and White. I think it's important that we tell the viewers a little bit about ourselves and how you and I got to know each other. Two characters with, at times, such opposing views.
Yep.
That it's almost hard to believe we can sit on the same podcast and discuss sometimes controversial topics so openly.
Well, I actually met you when I just arrived in Joburg. So I think when we were doing Car Phone Warehouse, I was probably my 7th month in Joburg. So just straight out of the Eastern Cape. Started off from the bottom as a call center agent. I remember you and the likes of Sandra and your Quentin Fundraise used to sit right behind me up until I got the opportunity to become an RTA. There were rumors before you arrived at Car Phone Warehouse in terms of what type of a person you are, your character, shoot from the hip, straight talker, sometimes maybe a bit rough, I think sometimes maybe not the type of talk people want to hear in a corporate setup or in a boardroom setup. And maybe I'll touch later on the infamous meeting or the call that you threw me into that ultimately just gave me that kick to sort of like start enjoying the work that I do. I'm not sure if you remember the call, but I can take you through it. If you remember at Car Phone Warehouse, we used to have a
debt call.
A debt call, yes. Yeah.
No,
yeah. So, yeah.
I don't remember the specific call because there are many calls like that, and there have been many calls. Some better, some worse. But all those calls are the same in terms of what the client expects. But I think the one thing is it requires people to know what it is they're talking about, because you're talking to a client, and most often you're talking to a client in front of your competitors.
Yep.
And I think one of the things when I got to Car Phone Warehouse, it was really an account in distress. I think Sandra and I think Greg had done a lot of work to try and turn the account around. But yeah, I mean, in typical, let's not mention our employer's name, but in the fashion and that company always found itself with accounts in distress. And you either dug yourself out or you didn't. But sometimes these things require straight talk and unorthodox approaches, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Yep. I really did enjoy that account. It was stressful, but I think there were a lot of people like yourself that were hungry for the opportunity and wanted to, I think, be given the scope to do new things, and everybody really wanted this account to succeed. And yeah, I mean, we met good characters, and that's the thing about BPO. You either in it because you want to be in it and make a success of it, or you in BPO because it's a stepping stone. And that's the thing, right? I think BPO is probably the single biggest opportunity for anybody that's not sure of what they want to do. You can learn at somebody else's expense, they'll pay you. And it's one of the few industries where, even if you come in without any degrees, you can become a CEO in that business.
You can move up.
And I think that's the one thing that people just don't get when they come into BPO is it's the environment where if you never turn work down and you seize the opportunity and you committed and you really want to solve things for the customer, your client, or the people you work with, and you show initiative, the sky's the limit for you. So yeah, I mean, that is what used to excite me about BPO. Getting to work with great people that you could sit around the table with and solve problems. And I think that's how I met you, because as you've mentioned, I met you when you were an RTA, but I think we also had other RTAs on that account that were a little bit problematic. They weren't necessarily committed. They were there just for the salary, which is fine. But I think when your back's against the wall, you need a different kind of soldier. But yeah, I mean, I met you, and I think the fact that you showed initiative, that you had fairly decent Excel skills, and you weren't afraid of hard work. Worked together at Samsung, at Interactive.
Yeah.
You came and joined me at
Bytes.
at
Altron now. Yeah.
even right. See, I've even forgotten that.
Yeah.
And then there was obviously
Comcast.
the gift that kept giving. But yeah, Liz, look, I think at the end of the day, it's obvious to everybody that those that don't know us, that we've had something to do with BPO.
Yep.
I think, and more specifically, the BPO operations. And I think BPO and working in operations exposes you to a lot in terms of people and the psychology of human beings. Why people do the things they do, or why we think they do the things we do, or they do, or we do. And, this podcast needs to not only talk about BPO. I'm sure we'll have some industry experts, or let's call it subject matter experts that we know, and we'll gain viewers and lose.
For me, what excites me and what I look forward to is, I think, being honest into the political atmosphere, some of the things that we need to touch on. What I'm hoping that our podcast brings across is different views, but in one platform. So what we tend to have sometimes is we tend to have our own views in our own little corners, and you've got your so-called keyboard warriors, faceless people who just want to, are not even authentic sometimes in terms of what they are putting out, because sometimes what you put out must be backed by you, an identifiable person behind it. So I think one of the things that I find exciting, and I'm hoping that we together in this podcast, in Black and White, we can start a movement, of having platforms. And I know in the past it was done. If you go back in the days, there used to be almost like city hall type of setups where people would come and sit, and you'd have like a Felicia Mabuza or a Deborah Parter, questioning people from different views. And I'm hoping that's what we're going to bring across, and that's what our audience will also participate in, and the guests that we bring onto the show will also be able to participate in terms of, we can have different views, and we come from different backgrounds, but at the end of the day, am I understanding your view, and are you understanding my view? Because sometimes I think we come across very subjective in terms of what people's views are, without just undressing it a bit and just purely understanding where that person is coming from.
As I said, it's important that we don't get stuck in the planning phase. Because this morning when I woke up, I was like thinking, shit, we've got the podcast. I'm hoping Liz doesn't rock up. And not because I didn't want to do the podcast. It's just like, shit, I haven't tested the microphones. I don't know. But that's how you get stuck in the planning phase, and you never move out, and then we carry on with life, and it never happens. But I'm glad we put the rubber on the road, and we've done something. No matter how makeshift this comes across, it's the starting point, and we can painfully watch this back when we publish it, as bad as it may be, and then we will self-critique and say, shit, the couch doesn't look good, I look fat in that shirt, the sound's not great, and we'll evolve. What is the actual real next segment going to be about?
I would say the next issue should be, we should touch base on some of the domestic issues that are impacting us.
Agreed. So you touched on social media, and I can't help myself, but I don't know how many people out of 10 of your friends, if you took 10, how many people that say I'm not on Facebook? Of the 5 people I know or that I've spoken to, and they don't have to be friends; they can be acquaintances. I could comfortably say that 3 out of 5 people have moved off Facebook, and it could be an age, the age group I'm in, or people just find it toxic. I am on Facebook not because I want to be on Facebook. I do some of the social media marketing for my wife's business, so I'm on Facebook, and I like to comment on things, and it's called rage bait. People are posting things on Facebook now that triggers engagement, but it's not healthy engagement.
Exactly.
It's extreme. It's very racial. It's very polarizing. It's very Donald Trump. It's very Hamas. It's very this. It's very that. It drives extreme views, LGBTQ, and all of these things. And if you look at the comments, and if you engage in that commentary, it's extreme. Now, Facebook in particular has become a place where it's a place of extremes. LinkedIn used to be a very professional environment.
Also,
but people have migrated from Facebook because they weren't getting the attention.
Yes, and they moved into
and they brought their shit into LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn to me is going the same way. And I find it very strange that back in the days of COVID, in the peak, Mark Zuckerberg and his crew went to extremes to proactively censor and withhold certain information, whether it was about COVID or Joe Biden or Donald Trump. If you remember all of that madness that went on, the Black Lives Matter, a lot of the content, if you posted something you're with a certain view, it could have been quarantined or fact-checked or something. If you go into Facebook now, it's a free-for-all. You can post anything.
Yeah, I think in my view, first of all, I think Facebook should have an age limit. And but I do think there's obviously opportunists because they know that Facebook's got quite a young audience. So we people in their 40s and in their 50s, by now you would have outgrown some of the content that goes on Facebook. But the young minds that are there that you want to capture, and it depends what type of agenda you have. If you want to drive a certain narrative, you're going to use that. But I am on Facebook, but I hardly comment on Facebook. So I just peruse and go through and I look at comments. And funny enough, whether it's race baiting and all of those things, the comments or maybe when you go into the profile of the people that are spewing out, these divisive issues, it's people in our age group or even older.
Yep.
And they've now managed to come back on Facebook, and obviously want to sort of like drive us a certain narrative. So what then happens is platforms like our podcast in black and white, these are the type of platforms that allow to sort of like still maintain that genuine conversation, sort of like unfiltered at times, but it's got people that you can pinpoint, people that you can hold accountable, and there's a lot of issues that I feel we do need to address. There's maybe, let me be blunt, it's black and white. There's certain things that you would say that would make black people cancel you, or say whatever they want to say back to you. And there's certain things that we would say that would make white people want to cancel you. But I think ultimately for me, when we talk social media, I do think that these platforms have sort of like lost that sort of like, I would say what Donald Trump likes to term as fake media and all of those things, so you follow a certain narrative and you speak to a certain following. So it's all about getting numbers now. It's all about getting a following, and if I wanted a following, then we'll go through and maybe just go through a populist view in terms of I will say what I think people want to hear. As black as I am, I need to say things that black people don't want to hear, but they need to hear. As white as you are, you would need to sometimes maybe say things that white people need to hear that they don't want to hear, and that's not a populist view to go with. So AI has crept in where there's voiceovers that are done on people, so you have to do a bit of research even on what you are listening to see who's the source and all of those things. But LinkedIn, I think slowly but surely it's losing that professionalism that it used to have, because there used to be a time when that if it's on LinkedIn, then at least it's vetted, it's checked.
Credibility.
Yeah, there's credibility there.
Yeah, Liz, I think great start, and see you after the holidays.
Yeah, enjoy the holidays. If you're a Christmas person, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Yeah, see everyone next year and get there safely. Are you traveling, by the way?
Yes, on tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow you're out. Okay, I'm here in Joburg. Hopefully by the end of December, I'll be welcoming a baby boy.
Yes, of
So
course.
yeah, maybe looking forward to that. Yeah.
No, I'm sure you will.
Except for the cost and all of those things.
No, it's not cheap, but you're not new to it, so you know what you're in for.
Yeah. Okay, Papa G.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you very much, sir.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. Now turn it up, let it flow. We're living loud, no doubt. Just two sides, watch us throw. Bro.